So, a little bit about wedding flowers and why we carry wedding flowers and why it's so important that they are real, that they're authentic, that they're true, that they're not fake and they're not phony, and it's all about fertility, because of course a flower is the ultimate symbol of fertility. So you carry a wedding bouquet in front of your womb to protect it from evil spirits and to make you more fertile. So that's gone on for thousands of years. It's not something that's brand new, but there are certain flowers that have special meaning, and they bring with them gifts of honesty. So honesty, beautiful thing to include in there, because don't you just want that on your wedding day? That's absolutely the right sentiment above all else. Honesty. Pink roses. Pink roses symbolise perfect and true love. What more do you want on your wedding day? And there are things like white roses mean pure love, red roses mean passionate love, but ultimately a rose means love. The other thing about a rose, for me, it's very much the symbol of an English person. And it is our symbol, certainly in Lancashire as well. The red rose is a symbol of Lancashire, white rose is a symbol of Yorkshire. But overall, you've heard the phrase an English rose, and that's all to do with the way that we behave and the way that we as English people conduct ourselves. So they would say that a rose, if it really loves you, if it really feels a connection with you, when you have it in a vase at home or when you have it in your garden, it flourishes more and it opens up and it shows you its heart, very much like an English person. So that's why we are associated with roses. So if a rose doesn't like you, it nods its head. It kind of curls up and goes very reserved. And it doesn't live long, it doesn't flourish long. So that's very much like us. If you don't care for somebody, we kind of shrink away and we don't get involved and we don't open up, and we certainly don't show our heart. So rose very much to do with the Englishness of us all. And then I've got some beautiful things, berries. I've got loads of berries. Obviously we're in the autumn, so why wouldn't you have berries? So the symbolism of berries is the more berries that you have in your wedding bouquet, they're representing financial wealth, money and so on. So the more berries you have, the more financially stable and the more money you're going to have in your married life. So really important to include in there. Eucalyptus, I always have eucalyptus in, mainly because it has aromatherapeutic value. So it's going to keep you calm, it's going to keep you chilled, it's going to keep you relaxed, it's going to keep you kind of happy and sort of more yourself when you've got eucalyptus in there. Just calms you down and stops you getting all ultra excited. Ivy is to do with kind of the struggle and strife of life, and that ivy can always survive and can always grow no matter how dreadful its surroundings, and ivy still grows. It also clings on. So if you think about it, if your ivy's growing up a wall at home, it's clinging on and it can hold on to you. So that ivy is one of those things that represents sort of that holding on to the truth and holding on to your love and not letting it disappear. We've also got hydrangea. Love a bit of hydrangea. Hydrangea changes through the seasons and is very representative of the way, again, that we grow older, and hopefully we grow older together. So hydrangea starts. This hydrangea, incidentally, was a white hydrangea at the beginning of its time. So like the white hydrangea in this wedding bouquet here, it was like that, probably May, June time. And now it's gone all russet and it's got that kind of deep burgundy colour to it, a little bit russety. And they call this classic and they call that fresh. It's still alive and it's still fresh, but it is classed as a classic hydrangea. I've also got some Love in the Mist. So Nigella is a beautiful thing. I love Love in the Mist. So inside these little pods, is the seed that is the nigella seed. I use nigella, or love in the mist as it's more commonly known, and it looks kind of like that right now. It's a little bit misty, but in the summertime it's blue. But the blue of a nigella is very much like the blue in people's eyes. So if somebody's got blue eyes, the colour, the shade is exactly the same as a nigella is. And I kind of always think when they say that thing about something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, nigella is an ideal thing to use because it's not a kind of in-your-face blue. It's that beautiful, subtle blue, grey, green that blends with most colours, so it's quite nice to include in there. I've got fuchsia as well, so the fuchsia is like little dancing flowers, dancing fairies, flower fairies, beautiful little flower, and I always love to use that whenever I have an opportunity. So I'm going to pull this together for you, and hopefully you will enjoy watching it come together. Interestingly, there are many flowers that we use, like a brassica or a cabbage, and I've used some chrysanthemums that you might not necessarily think of as being particularly a flower that you would use in a wedding, but you see, chrysanthemums, they represent forbearance, and they come through the summer and end up in the autumn as a beautiful, beautiful thing. So again, it's something that has great symbolism for a wedding. I'm going to cluster these beautiful roses together. I've also got a little bit of snowberry, but I'm using the pink one, which is quite lovely. I have to say, I absolutely love using flowers that are in season. Obviously all flowers are available at all different times of the year, but there is nothing like using the flowers of the season at the right time. It sort of feels right, looks right, adds so much to an overall look, and it really does create something very special, and something that when you look back on your wedding photographs in years to come, you think, oh, you can absolutely see what time of year it was when you got married. And I think that's really important, that it doesn't look, I think more now than ever before, that things should look authentic. Things should look like it belongs to when it was, and that you've not got blossom trees in the middle of November, because they'd never be there. And I don't know if I'm feeling that particularly because of all the things that have gone on this year, but I can't think of anything more lovely than the flowers of the season, the things that belong to that time of year. So here we are, loving the mist, berries, cabbages, all sorts of lovely things. This particular rose variety is an autumnal rose as well. It's not a summer rose. Its same variety in the summer looks quite different than it does now. Got a little bit of hebe. Hebe's one of my favourite little things. I love it. It's one of the first plants that I put in my garden when I just got married, and I still cut little bits of it off from time to time. It's a really special foliage to me, and it sort of is one of those things that when I've taken sort of a few flowers home and put them in a vase, they're always in there. So a little bit of my honesty, and like I said before, who doesn't want that? You know, that's above all else. That's the most important thing. So the shape of this bouquet, it's going to be quite relaxed, quite kind of have a little bit of movement. And I do think as a bride, if you have the capacity to perform your bouquet and perform your beautiful gown from Lottie's Bridal, if you've got the capacity to do that, absolutely do it, because there's never another day in your life that you'll ever have that opportunity. So let yourself flourish and let yourself open up and let these flowers move and dance around. And the more they move around and the more that they are dancing, the more that the fragrance is coming out and that the people around you have the opportunity to smell it. I always remember reading, I don't know, I'm guessing it's true, but I remember reading at the time when William and Kate got married that fragrance was the only thing that they had that nobody else, no matter how many millions of us were watching, we didn't know what they could smell because they could smell their combination. So she carried a bouquet of Lily of the Valley and Sweet William and Stephanotis, and that smell combined with the cologne that she wore, which I believe it was actually body cream, and I think it was orange blossom, and that combination with the cologne that he was wearing, that William was wearing, there were only those two that could smell the flowers, smell the body cream and smell the cologne. And that smell is very intimate, very personal. It's not for anybody else. And I really love that thought, that only the two of you share that. So obviously fresh flowers at any time of the year have their own perfume. This smells absolutely fabulous, and I wish you could smell it, but you can't. So my little Stephanotis that I have at home, it's not got any flowers on, but it will very, very soon, and the smell from that is absolutely gorgeous. So a great thing to have in for winter weddings. This bouquet has a look of relaxedness. It's not sophisticated at all, and I've really done that on purpose because there's quite a few of the smaller weddings that are happening now, and I'm all for it. Jason and I, when we got married, we were 12 people, and it was perfect for us. It was very intimate. I still carried a beautiful wedding bouquet of all my favourite things, and I love the party, and we did do the party later. This is many, many years ago, so I'm kind of feeling that we were the start of micro weddings way back when. So you can see how this is coming together. So I've got to go around the base of my bouquet to frame everything and to make it all hang together. I've got these fig leaves. Now fig leaves, and the reason I'm using them, firstly, a very dear friend gave them to me out of her garden, so I really wanted them for this because fig leaves are from the original love story, Adam and Eve and the fig leaf. So we're going to use a few fig leaves just to frame this bouquet and beautifully capture the original and first story of love and marriage. So there you go. I'm going to tie that off and put a little handle on it for you. Things about, people ask me all the time about how you should carry a bouquet. If a bouquet is made properly, you should automatically carry it properly because it's made in a way that it's fully balanced and it sits in your hand in the way that it's supposed to. So in effect, you therefore can't get that wrong. Obviously, if you're carrying a bouquet that perhaps you've wanted or asked for it to be made in a particular way that it isn't perfectly balanced, and you have to think about how you're holding that bouquet. I would say think carefully about choosing that design because throughout the day you've got so many things to think of that the last thing on earth you want to be considering is, are you carrying your bouquet correctly or not? For us, we'd always, regardless of the bouquet that you have, we always do a bouquet carrying lesson and make sure that people are holding it in exactly the right place and the right way and really enjoying the experience of having flowers in their hands. Because there's something very intimate about that, there's something very lovely, something beautiful to hold on to, something that you're sort of holding in that position that makes you hold your posture perfectly. So if you're holding it here, it pushes your shoulders back, your boobs come out, and your shoulders go down at the back, so you're definitely making your neck look longer. You're really giving yourself every advantage to look the very best that you can. And we always talk about that sort of on the morning of your wedding and make sure that you've got it absolutely spot on. I'm just going to put a handle on this bouquet with some satin ribbon. So the other thing is actually to say fresh flowers kind of open as your day progresses. So when I deliver a wedding bouquet to somebody, those flowers are kind of quite uptight. They've probably been in the chiller overnight, and they're very snug and tight and uptight like you are. And then as the day progresses and they've been in your hand and they're all nice and warm, the flowers start to open. And I've kind of noticed that that's what happens to the brides as well. You sort of start to relax, and as your flowers open and spread their wings of petals a little bit, then so do you, which is perfect, absolutely the way it should be. And think about that. That's a lovely kind of thing to note. And I always say to people, please don't worry about whether flower petals drop off or berries drop off, particularly at this time of the year, because that's bound to happen, because that's the nature of autumn. But literally, let that occur, let that happen, enjoy it. So put a little handle on that, and you would literally carry that in a really relaxed style, and it looks beautiful. It looks like autumn. There you go. So you can see around me, I've got lots of mood boards and things, and these are prepared by our brides and grooms so that I understand the kind of look that they're going for. I would say that I am probably more likely to have brides that have a kind of a connection with natural things and like really beautiful things. I'm unlikely to ever get a bride that would ask me for blue roses or something equally as awful, something that's been dyed or artificially coloured, because why ever would you? There is a myriad of gorgeous flowers out there, and there's absolutely no need to gild the lily, literally. When I very first started in floristry, you used to have like selection guides that people would come in and pick in fact I've got one here, that people would actually pick a picture from and say, oh, that's the bouquet that I want. Interestingly, that's Vicky on her wedding day, which is like nearly 30 years ago, and Vicky and I still work together now. But literally somebody would come in and go through this album and say, oh, that's the one I want. Even further back than that, I have this ancient book, this ancient selection guide, and this has pictures of wedding bouquets from sort of the 1920s, and look at that beautiful wedding table there. But these flowers and this sort of look and having beautiful things has gone on forever and ever and ever. The thing that's kind of a little bit more to do with how we are going to be going forward, I truly believe that these smaller weddings, it will all be about having the most beautiful things that you can have and making it as gorgeous as it possibly can and keeping everything real, keep everything authentic. So in other words, less is definitely more. You pick the best wedding dress that you can possibly have and look the most beautiful that you can possibly do, and we would make you the most beautiful wedding bouquet to go with that. So thank you for your time, hope you've enjoyed watching that. Take care, bye bye.